He hung on the cross. This is what we think. Jesus wasn't like, well, I am God, and I have the fullness of the Godhead dwelling in me, and so I'm good. Jesus, he's God. Okay? God, in the skin suit, had to fellowship with the truth as he took all death on him.
Sure.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
He had to be encouraged. He encouraged himself in the truth, meaning he began fellowshipping with the Spirit of truth in the midst of all death. He's God. Right? So the need to fellowship with the truth in order to find salvation from the pressing in upon of hopelessness isn't a bad thing or a negative thing or a sign that we're in unbelief. God himself came. Everybody agrees Jesus is God, right?
Yeah.
God himself came. He said, okay, let's just see how strong that this corruptible flesh my people have. Let's see how strong that thing can be. He put on our skin suit, like I said on Sunday, and when he had our skin suit on and was confronted with all death, he wasn't just like, oh, it's nothing. He had to fellowship with the Spirit of truth. He fellowshiped with the Father in his heart through the Spirit as he hung on the cross. That's what Psalm 23 is talking about. That's going on in his heart. That dynamic strengthened him. And so when we're in the midst of all hopelessness, man, there's no shame in now going and fellowshipping with the hope that we have. That's how we'll be strengthened, right?
Yeah.
It's not like we're going to get to the point where we'll be smacked in the face with death and we don't feel anything about it. Does that make sense? Sure. We're going to feel a sting. Yeah. Right? We can feel a smack. We can feel a pinch. The pinch might get less and less and shorter lived and shorter lived. Our mind will become more animated with light than it will be with death. And so it could become less and less and less.
The impact will be much less.
Right. The impact will be much less. We'll find salvation quickly. But it's not like we're going to get to the place where we're not going to fellowship with the truth. Fellowshipping with the truth isn't a negative thing. I find myself in the place now that I almost will rejoice when I get smacked in the face with death. Because I realize it's another opportunity to fellowship with the sufficiency that I have in Christ. And so I don't count it as a negative. Right? I don't count it as a negative that death has come to my door. Come to my door, man, because I'm going to fellowship with the fact that my life has conquered that death.
Yeah, let me introduce you to the Godhead.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you'll find yourself thinking like that. And so I would say that my suffering in the midst of feeling death has changed.
Yeah.
Not to the degree that I don't feel it, but to the degree I don't feel hopeless when I feel it. Right?
Good, yeah.
Does that make sense? I still feel it, but I don't feel hopeless when I feel it. It's like when it hits me, the Spirit begins processing it the way Jesus processed death in Psalm 23.
Right.
And for people, if you didn't listen to that, man, you've got to go back and listen to the message that I preached. What did Jesus believe on the cross?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because Psalm 23 is a picture of what Jesus believed on the cross.
Yeah.
Jesus, he was led out of the darkness by the Father, right?
Yeah.
It's called